Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Atrainability Radio, where I speak to Rachel Pilling about 15S30M. For those of you not aware of it, it's this idea that's gone kind of viral around the NHS and healthcare in general, and it looks like it's going further, about spending 15 seconds to save, well, it says 30 minutes later, but actually there's much, much more to it than that. And it's not just about saving time, as you'll hear. So very much looking forward to it. And Rachel will be on the radio here with us very much in just a couple of seconds. Here we go.
So I think 15 seconds, 30 minutes is common sense, but that gets shoved out of healthcare.
Now, here you go. Controversial statement. Would you say that a lot of human factors is about common sense?
Yes, I think so. But it gets lost in amongst standard operating procedures, amongst guidelines, pathways, flowcharts. So yeah, so I've read lots of human factors. I'm going to do a master's, but diverted and did coaching instead. But lots of it. So a great example in our theatre a couple of years ago, an unfamiliar anaesthetist, a child on the table. Obviously, I have the head. Normally, anaesthetists have the head, but no, I have the head because I'm operating on the eye.
Of course, yeah.
And one of the healthcare assistants said, "That's right, not right. The tube's not right." She just in the middle of the group hug said, "The tube's not right." And we looked at her and said, "Tell me what you mean." She pointed, and he'd not attached the oxygen supply, wheeled her in, and because of the way the blanket was and all the rest of it, and she spotted it, and she didn't know the right word, and she didn't know the official thing, but it didn't matter because she knew enough to I'm thinking, do you know what? I was really proud of my theatre that day, because the person who was, in theory, the least authoritative in that room felt empowered to say, something isn't right. I don't know the right word, but you need to do something about it now. And
what had she actually seen? Do you know what she'd actually seen?
She knew that something didn't look right. She knew that normally there was a green pipe that ran over the top of the blanket, and she couldn't see the green pipe.
Right.
And she,
okay.
And she normally saw that, and she didn't see it.
That is brilliant. But okay, so now, because I very much want these podcasts to be about what people can really pick up on and go, yeah, I could do that, or I can see where that would fit. So yeah. I'm very keen, theory is great. But there's a lot of people out there who talk an awful lot of theory, and I don't think they always get it to relate to practice.
Yeah.
And what I'm keen on is exactly what you're saying, is what does your average doctor, nurse, healthcare assistant, whoever, what do they actually do on the day? And that's why I think, what you're telling me is absolutely bang on, absolutely superb. And that's very encouraging. But now let me, if I can, so there must be something you do which empowers, so what do you do in particular that makes someone like a health support worker or whatever feel able to speak up?
So I think I would articulate it nowadays as I truly believe in a flattened hierarchy. And I wouldn't have described like that before, but I think everyone in my theatre has equal standing. Everyone's voice is equal and has the right to say what they feel is and isn't right. It's my job as the surgeon, as a consultant, to integrate information and decide what to do, but everybody has the right to give input to that decision. I think part of working with children with special needs a lot in clinic, I have a much more informal approach to things. So in clinic, the nursing staff see me sitting on the floor, lying underneath the chair, singing songs. There's no structured approach to how we find the information we need from children with special needs. Yeah. And that means it's much less formal. I use virtually no medical jargon at all and less forced to. And that means I feel the staff in clinic feel that they are able to just say what they want in their words. The parent is able to articulate in their words. I try and normalise what I do. I'm a normal person. I'm a mum. I understand that school is tricky, getting your child out of school, getting yourself out of work. Yeah. And I think empowers parents to say, oh, but I have my appointment on a Friday because I don't work on a Friday. And I think that's completely reasonable. The parent's taken a few seconds to tell me that. I can put that in the comments box, which means that the patient gets sent an appointment on the day the mum is likely to be able to attend, which means they don't have to ring up and cancel the appointment and move it again and move it again. So I think part of it is being accessible. I think part of it is getting rid of some of the artificial structures that we put up that bar people from saying what is real in their lives. This sort of fear, can't offend, or I really shouldn't, it will upset people, it's the wrong thing, or it's not mine.
No, that's great. Now, if Bradford, by the sound of it, you've spread this around your unit, your specialty.
So interestingly, one of the places that it's not spread lots is Bradford. So our aim with 15 seconds, 30 minutes was for it to become a national prospect, so that every organisation uses 15 seconds, 30 minutes as a quality improvement tool, a way of getting every member of staff involved in quality improvement, perhaps without them really knowing that it was quality improvement. Yeah. So our aim was actually for it to spread elsewhere. A social movement is only a social movement if it moves on its own. So without Dan and I pushing. Yeah. So it's mostly been through social media. We have visited perhaps 6 or 7 organisations, but really not for a long time. They were perhaps a year and a half ago. Most of it is people finding it and spreading it and sharing it. We've been invited to organisations. We teach on a couple of leadership and management courses. We teach on a human factors course, or our material is used on a human factors course. But it locally is where it's coming back to now, because we've done what we aimed to do, which is spread it far and wide. We can on integrating it locally. But it's just simple things, standing on a hospital corridor at lunchtime, asking people what little things would make a big difference, what would reduce frustration and increase joy for you in work. And we asked the question, and we collected 100 ideas in 100 days.
And do you do something like use the 5 whys if someone says I can't? Or do you not come to that?
Yeah, no, over the time we have learned coaching tools. Part of it, the structure of it, is that anyone can run a workshop. We do have a sort of a matrix of springboard words, I suppose we call them, things like remind or refresh or what's next or let someone know. So sort of ideas that people can think, if they can't think of anything to do, well, actually you can think of when you might remind someone. You can think of when you might tell someone what happens next in the process. And so when they get back from surgery, they're going to have something to eat and drink, and then they'll get their drugs from pharmacy, and then they'll go home. Things like that reduce frustration, because people then know what's going to happen next to them. So we have a springboard. What we find is that people quite often are very keen at suggesting what someone else can do to help them, which is where lots of quality improvement projects or change projects in organisations fall down. Is actually, if you go away with a list of things that other people can do to help you, you can't do anything with that. It's about finding something that you can do that will help someone else. And that is a real watershed moment, really, when staff realise that they are empowered. They are the person that can make a difference to someone else. And yes, you might feel that, well, who's doing it for me? But actually, with our cycle, someone somewhere will be doing something to help you. You just don't know about it.
I guess sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, aren't they, as well? They're right in front of your eyes, and you just kind of need the eyes to see them and to recognise them.
So we'll all know people in our organisation, our team, who are the golden gem, who are the people who, if you were to try and teach them 15 seconds, 30 minutes, would look at you as if to say, but isn't that just what everyone does?
Yes.
They're the people who don't realise the tiny things that they do, and they do them because it makes them enjoy their day. It's the reason they come to work, is to do these little things to help other people. Part of it is nurture, part of it is to help people flourish. And they can be anywhere in the team. They can be the person at the top who always remembers everyone's birthday, or they can be the person on the front desk who notices when a child is getting a bit fractious and points out to mum where the tea bar is, or takes out this girl in our reception who just has some crayons and colouring books under her desk. And if there's a delay in clinic, she'll go out and just hand them out to parents. And that helps the child. It helps me, because when the child does get into me, they're not completely beyond it because they're so fed up of sitting still. It makes the parent feel that you've noticed that they are a parent with a child and they are being kept waiting. And it makes the receptionist feel so good about her job, because she knows what she's been able to do to help. And it has actually made her job easier because you haven't got people coming up to the desk every 5 minutes saying, my appointment was 20 minutes ago, my appointment was half an hour ago. Actually, it does help them, but that's not her motivation for doing it.
That's really interesting because so I don't know if I said to you or if you realise, but we were one of the sponsors of the TEDx NHS 2019. And so I listened to all the talks, and I think some of them I've got slightly confused. Yours, I was very clear, and I thought, wow, that absolutely fits, beautifully with what we do. One of the running themes, I've done several of these podcasts already now, one of the running themes that's come out all on its own, which is something we promote as well anyway, is treating people like a person, not like a case. And so what you've just said, Rachel, just fits that perfectly. It's about seeing the people, not seeing just the case. So you don't hear the phrase so much, I don't think, now about learned helplessness, although you encounter it. You might do that there, but we couldn't do it here. Have you encountered much of that, and have you found a way of dealing with it?
So actually within the workshops, one of the sections we do is bring out everyone's frustrations, and it's a dangerous thing to do.
Yes.
But you have to shine a light on things. You have to open that big box and get them all up on the wall. And then there is something about the next step in the workshop is people thinking of something that they can do to make someone else's job easier. So we're not about to solve that big bunch of frustrations that are on the wall that are big. So we talk about things that aren't a mission. So making NHS car parking, it's a great idea. It's something that would help lots of people, but it's not a 15-second mission.
No.
If you're frustrated with the students not knowing or everything they need to know when they arrive, not having all the policies or forms printed, well, you could rewrite the student policy, or that's not a 15-second mission. No. Or you could make sure that you email them a couple of weeks before and signpost things to them so they can do things for themselves. People are, we're autonomous human beings. We like, MAP is one of my new things. So mastery, autonomy and purpose.
I was going to say that just now, so I'm really pleased you have. That's fantastic. Yes.
Feel that we're getting better at something. We like to feel that we've got a choice in something, and we like to know what we're supposed to do. And Dan and I, we talk a lot about our dislike of SOPs, of standard operating procedures, and we know they are important. But when it's just about the SOP and not about the people who will be doing the do, what are we doing? It's the bringing it back to what you personally can do. Part of the workshops, again, is encouraging people to re-engage with, why did I choose to work in healthcare? And it's really one of the most humbling bits of the whole thing for Dan and I is hearing an IT help desk operative say why they chose to work in healthcare, speaking to the cleaners and the porters. Why did you choose to work? No one's saying the pension or the pay. No. They're doing it because they felt they could make a difference.
Yes.
Once you return that back on, that's almost like your antidote to learned helplessness. When people re-engage with, but I really wanted to work in a hospital, work with vulnerable people, or I really wanted to work with special needs kids because ... then all of a sudden you've opened this new box of, and I know what I can do to make that easier.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. And in fact, what you're doing then is you're treating your colleagues as people too.
All along said, if we can make something easier for the people delivering care, then it will automatically be easy for the people receiving care. And that feels like the flip of what we were taught in the 2000s, which is patient-based, patient-centered, and that is important. But if it's so patient-centered that it's impossible for you to deliver the care.
Yeah.
So that comes from the work I've done with learning disability eye care, when the penny dropped for me, is that if I made it easier for healthcare professionals to see people with learning disability, if I took away all the barriers that healthcare professionals put up in front of themselves, well, then suddenly it would be easier for people to access. So stop saying you have to do a vision test. Stop saying you have to see an optician. Stop saying we have to do everything in one consultation. Stop saying we have to make a decision in one go. Why have we decided this? It's almost doing this reversal. I read something on the train today about reversal, something or other, where you take the opposite of what you say. So, for instance, a taxi firm in the 90s was every taxi firm will own cars, and actually you reverse that and say so taxi firms will own no cars, and that's your starting point. Well, then you've got Uber, and whether or not you think Uber is a good thing, it's definitely an innovation and a development. So here's the question: eye clinic appointments take place in a hospital. Well, what about the reverse of that? How can we do it so eye clinic appointments don't take place in a hospital? How does that then totally re-plan the landscape of what we should be doing? And there's lots of little 15-second things we can do start moving towards that.
Okay, I like the sound of that. I just want to go back onto the SOP thing that you said just now, standard operating procedures. It strikes me that there's a place for them, and I think your green wristband is an SOP, but that's one that works. And people kind of get hung up on SOPs. And one of the things we're hearing from the Healthcare Safety Investigation Branch is, I attended a lecture at Loughborough recently where they were talking about the issues in maternity. And one of them is getting too hung up on standardized protocols. The problem being there is no standard patient. There is no standard birth. And it's about the place for SOPs and recognizing where you need to give a bit more latitude. And indeed, the mastery, autonomy and purpose fits very well. You have that. You are empowered to do what you think is right as the experienced professional, rather than being hampered by unnecessary or inappropriate SOPs.
Yeah, and so that comes from, we talked a few minutes ago about, a mum saying she could only come to clinic on a Friday. Well, the traditional SOP says that clinic appointments are booked in strict chronological order. Right. So when you are at the top of the list, you are bunged in a slot. Yeah. And this is very close to Dan's heart. Our time together began with him running the administration of outpatients, not for eyes, but for the whole of outpatients in Bradford. And it was helping people understand that the standard operating procedure was there as the basis upon which we booked appointments, but was not an absolute, undeviatable rule book. So if someone can only come on a Friday, if their name comes to the top of the list and the clinic appointment is for Thursday, well, there's no point booking that, because we know the patient isn't going to be able to come. And so we deviate slightly. So things that would be useful in SOP. So again, a great example we use is administrators, when someone rings the hospital, is always checking what their mobile phone number is, whatever the purpose of the call, just saying, let's just check we've got the correct mobile number, because that means you can ring them back, but also means that correct number is on the system. So if we, in the future, we are sending the patient an appointment, we can send a text message reminder. Or if there's a problem with the patient or the clinic or the doctor, we can then ring the patient and cancel their appointment. And so each contact with the patient is a 15-second opportunity to make a difference to someone else that you cannot even predict a long, long way down the line. Sure. And you will never know the impact that's made. And you only have to make that difference once in every 100 contacts to have made it absolutely worthwhile doing that. So yes, standard operating procedures are very good, but how can we work 15-second things into them? Yeah. But if it's from a standard operating procedure, people lose that joy bit. If it's something that you're told to do, you mind it begrudgingly, or it's just on your to-do list. One of the things that has made us really link with the joy in work aspect of quality improvement is that these are things that you are choosing to do, that you're doing autonomously to make a difference to someone else. So it's not that they can't be written in standard operating procedures, but actually it's not exclusively for standard operating procedures. Yeah, so is that SOP fit for purpose, essentially? Yes. And it is that lovely question, isn't it? You say to someone, why'd you do it? How do you do it here? We'll be doing it like this. Why'd you do that? Well, that's the way we do it. And that is a sort of, a never-ending argument. Well, that's the way we do it. And that's, now you're back to the helplessness bit in a way. Well, yes, okay, let's challenge it. Like, do you need to own your cars as a taxi firm? It's exactly that. It's asking the challenging question. One of the things I find frustrating, and I guess you're getting over it because you've gone kind of viral and you're all over the place, with your message, is I find there's so little sharing of information, even down to incidents that have happened. So near where I live, there are two major acute trusts, and I know they don't talk to each other. And I know, all right, albeit 3 or 4 years ago, they had identical incidents, and only because we were working in them both. And I said, oh, do you know that's happened down the road? No, we didn't know that. And that is something else, I think, which it's probably going a bit off a tangent here, but that's something that there could be so much more of. I mean, do you have an answer to that? Because you're within the NHS and I'm not. Only that what we've learned through using social media is small is better than big. Definitely small is better than big. And when are you communicating things to people? So we learned early on that our Twitter users check between 6:30 and 7:15 in the morning, and between 4:30 and 5:15 evening And at weekends, a good slot is 2 till 4 on a Sunday afternoon. And so we know if we want to put something out that we want people to grab, that's when we need to put it out. Not links to articles. They do like a nice little meme or a nice little, pretty picture that we've constructed with a nice quote in it. And that's what gets shared. And it's this springboard. It's almost that I don't have to think about this too hard, but I know what that means to me. So when we're sharing stuff, we need to share it in a way that means something to people, rather than the formal stuff is important, but actually it's the informal way of sharing things. It's a did you know, or a for your information, or a have you thought that ... Because not trivializing the learning, but it's putting out there in a way that engages people. So we know that spreading between organisations has happened a small amount with 15 seconds, 30 minutes, but most of it has been through the quality improvement. Well, I don't know, mafia, that's the wrong word. This huge band of people who are enthusiastic about quality improvement, see something, don't want to miss out on it. It's also got to be accessible, things people feel they can integrate in quite quickly into their everyday life without them having to ask permission or do too much. So again, sharing of positive as well as negative incidents, it's the how does that person integrate that into their daily workload without it being on the to-do list. The ex-chief exec of Wigan Trust, Andrew Foster, he dispensed with core briefs and would do a 90-second, 2-minute video every Friday telling the staff, this is what's going on, these are the good things that have happened, these are things that we're working on, this is what's coming next. And that had such broad impact, because people who don't sit at a terminal log on. People who are writing core briefs are people who work at a desk. And the vast majority of people in an acute trust do not work at a desk, looking at emails, writing things. Yeah. We are out and about on the shop floor. Even if I'm in a clinic, I'm not on my email in clinic. I'm seeing patients. It's all work. Everyone's doing good work. But you've got to find a way of people accessing this information in their break or at their lunchtime, rather than, well, in the middle of a chunk of 30 emails I've got to get through, I'm not going to stop for 20 minutes and read the core brief, but I might watch it on my phone at the bus stop.
Right. That's really valuable. And yes, I can totally understand that. I think I've been looking for that magic bit. I think you've just helped me enormously. There you go. You've just given me a 15-second input, which will be absolutely great. Here's another thing that's been a theme of mine, which is, do you find that your colleagues accept positive feedback, or do a lot of people shrug it off, which I've found, and go, well, I'm just doing my job, People kind of take it for granted.
Yeah. It's making a fuss about people in the right way. Some people love being made a fuss of, don't they? Some people absolutely hate it. So the way we've approached that is with the little cogs. So if you become a 15-second hero, so you've done the mission, you can't just have thought of one, you have to have done it. We just give people a very tiny little cog. It's just on like a keyring chain that they can just attach to their lanyard. So it's anonymous. So if it doesn't shout out, I am wonderful, I am a hero. It's just a little identity. And some people will tell people, oh, look what I've got, or be very proud and show them on Twitter. And other people, it just sits on their lanyard until someone asks, oh, what's that thing that you've got there? And they might quietly tell them about it if they want to. So it's this acknowledging people. Acknowledging is so, so important. Acknowledging when people have done stuff. Because even, as you say, the people who just say, oh, it's part of my job, there will come a day when they think, well, actually, why am I doing this? Because no one ever seems to notice. Actually, that internal reward system of knowing you're doing the right thing can get eaten away at. So yeah, just the little cogs are a great way. We found they're really cheap. They cost about £3 for 100 from Amazon. So again, that's not a barrier to entry. We're not asking people to go and spend £100 on 30 badges. It's really cheap way of people being able to acknowledge that people do. And going around to Carrie Biddle, she's one of our first wave trusts, and she calls it cogging. She's invented a verb, cogging. And her favourite thing is going around once every couple of weeks with her list of 15-second, 30-minute heroes, people who it's been reported back to her have been doing missions, and she walks around to their department and gives them their cog. And so you're not calling people out, but there are people who look around and go, oh, well, why is he being given that? Or why has she got that? Or, oh, yeah, no, I could do that. So it's not compulsory. So early on, we were told one way of making 15 second, 30 minutes really big would be to make it compulsory, to be on everyone's appraisal, everyone's annual personal development plan. And we really fought against that. You do something not because you were told it's the right thing to do, because you personally just feel that it's the right thing to do.
Yes, I think I totally get that. It's the compulsion actually puts you off. It's demotivating, isn't it? You know, I'm doing this because I've been told to. So it's been imposed upon you. And that's the complete reverse of mastery, autonomy and purpose, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like that. On a separate issue, do you have any issues around behaviour with colleagues, you know, inappropriate behaviour, actually doing the reverse of 15? So if you like, 15 seconds of abusive or poor behaviour or ranting or shouting at someone actually has the reverse effect. Have you had any issues around that?
Well, I'm sure as everyone who's worked in healthcare that had an experience, in any walk of life, you've experienced someone who's said the wrong thing at the wrong time and done untold damage. I think the major misunderstanding with 15 second, 30 minutes that sometimes people have is that it's a time-saving initiative, which absolutely isn't. I mean, we're totally upfront. We're asking people to spend more time on something, but only a tiny amount of more time. One of the exercises that we encourage people to go through is our COGS exercise. COGS are really important to us, all different shapes and sizes, but they all link together. So if you start with your 15 second action, so for instance, if you update your email signature to make sure you've got a phone number in it, well, the knock-on effect of that is that someone can pick up the phone and give you a quick reply to something, or if your email hasn't been clear, they can quickly clarify. The knock-on effect to that is that they've not got to hang on to switchboard trying to get hold of your phone number, which means that someone else who's trying to ring the hospital can get through to the hospital. And the knock-on effect is that you're going to have fewer emails in your email box. And the knock-on effect is that you're able to get your work done faster. And the knock-on effect is that you feel real joy in work. You know, the knock-on effect of your missions. And in some of the workshops, we worked to a couple of examples, and people have got so far as, you know, they've saved global warming, they've reversed global warming from their series of COGS. They have prevented deaths from the knock-on effect of their COGS. The knock-on effect of a 15-second mission can be felt across a huge number of people. If you're helping a clinic finish on time through whatever method you're doing, then that person can be doing whatever they're doing in the afternoon. That can start on time. And that can mean that a theatre list runs. It means we don't have to cancel patients, which means we're not displaced. You know, the knock-on effects are absolutely huge. And again, that's another part of what helps people follow through on their mission that they want to do when they're thinking, oh, can I really be bothered? Can I really be bothered to take this set of notes up to the ward? The patient's coming to theatre tomorrow. Oh, someone else will do it. Well, no, if you do it, then the notes are definitely in the right place. And then the patient, when everything's there for the surgeon and the anaesthetist in the morning, which means that then, you know, everything starts on time. You're not all running around trying to find this set of notes that if you've just taken them upstairs. I think the bit we perhaps do get is that it's not my job, and we have very little truck with the it's not my job brigades, because your job is to enable patients to receive good care. When you boil it down, everyone who works in the health service, your job is to enable patients to receive good care. And so this, I suppose we're back to the hierarchy thing, this carving up of who should exactly do what. And yes, you shouldn't have a group of consultant surgeons running around delivering notes all around the hospital. Of course you shouldn't. But actually, if you've got 15 seconds to go and take those notes and put them where they should be, because it's going to help you tomorrow morning, that's mission critical, and just do it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Just a quick one, and we've already been going over half an hour, which is I'm very aware that we need to let you get onto your talk. One of the things we found in surgery, you've mentioned surgery, is getting everybody there for the morning huddle or the morning briefing. And often you hear that, well, surgeons have to be off consenting. And so is that something that you've encountered and you've got a solution to?
I've encountered, I don't think there is a solution. I think some of it is about people doing what they can when they can. So, for instance, if you can consent a patient in clinic, get the form out the cupboard and get it signed. So in theory, we should all be, as you're listing a patient for surgery, you should be going through the risks and benefits. Well, if you've done that verbally, it doesn't take much longer just to write the patient's name on a form and have the signature done. Not asking people to rush the process, but actually, if you've done the talking anyway, Could you not do that? Other things is having all that information ready in the right place. So if there's a bit of 15-second prep that you can ask someone to do, to make you can do yourself to get all the documentation all lined up by the bedside. So, for instance, the nurses on our paediatric day case ward worked out that if they put the notes on the end of the children's beds and lined, it sounds so simple, lined the children up in order. So all my children are in bed 2, 3, 4, and 5, not bed 2, 11, 17.
Oh, yeah.
Then actually the speed at which I could do my ward round was so much faster, because they knew exactly where to find me. I was going to be in this narrow strip of beds because I was going to be seeing those children there, as opposed to crisscrossing the ward and the anaesthetist not sure where I am. Simple things like that. We have a little huddle board now on the ward where I write down how long I think the procedure is going to take. And so that means that the nurse knows approximately when we're going to be sending for the next case. And so they can have done all their pre-theatre checks. So when the porter comes up, literally the patient just leaves the ward. The queue to start checking the child has a consent form, they're marked, they've got their ID bands, they've been to the toilet. That all starts 10 minutes before the phone call comes, because they know when the phone call is going to come, because I've written down how long the operation is likely to take. It's little things make a huge difference.
So then if you overrun, for instance, you encounter a problem on a case, do you then communicate that back up? Do you have a way of doing that as well?
We could phone that back up if we need to. If it's only 5 minutes, then actually we don't, because 5 minutes isn't going to make a big difference. But actually they're taking their cue for the next patient from the time that patient B went downstairs. So if I said the case is going to take 45 minutes, it takes 55 minutes. Well, patient C goes downstairs and they think, well, that case is still going to take 45 minutes. It's not I'm going to be sending at 9, 9:30, 10:15.
Sure. It's
how long I think the procedure is going to take, so they can have an approximate expectation of when to start prepping the child on the ward.
Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. So sort of to summarize this then, is there anything that you'd like to, have you got any aims? Have you got anything that you're looking to change next? Is there a hot topic for you?
So, no, it's just to continue to spread. So we're in about 100 organisations now within the health service. We're hoping to be within all the ambulance services. We are spreading out into social care, into NHS social care, but it would be great to spread into private social care. We've certainly got our eye on the police force. We've got our eye on a number of other avenues where we think 15 seconds, 30 minutes could make a difference to everybody, providing any service for anyone. I think we'd really encourage people to pop to the website. There's blogs that we publish every 2 or 3 weeks, and everything out there is new and available for people to use free. You don't need to ask permission. That being said, we would really like to hear from people so we can add them to our map of joy, so we can see how far it's spread. So if you have we know that there's a hero near to you as you're getting started, we can link you in with them and they can offer support. Yeah,
well, it's more than just where they are, isn't it? It's what they've done, because there might be another idea which you can share. So you become a sort of a repository, a bit like the clinical human factors group is. You become a repository for sharing good practice and all the rest of it. So let's get a plug in for your website, which is 15s30m.co.uk.
Yeah, and we're at 15s30m on Twitter. And if you look on YouTube and you put in 15s30m into YouTube, there's a whole load of little snippets, videos, Dan and I waving our hands around, and some little animations with some mission suggestions as well. So there's lots of stuff out there to get your teeth into.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Rachel. It's been absolutely brilliant. And thank you so much for sharing your ideas. It was new to me. And I mean, the principle, obviously, is something I've been practicing for years, but without knowing you guys existed. So TEDx NHS 2019 put us together, and hopefully we can help you share it some more. And I'm certainly going to take some of your ideas and put them into some of my training courses. And if anything comes back, I will certainly let you know. And if I encounter difficulties, I'll be asking for help. But
we'd hugely value that. Thank you, Trevor. And I think part of that is the credibility that comes with people like yourself and postgrad courses is, we're not a fluffy add-on. 15 seconds, 30 minutes is a real huge difference that anybody can make. It's not a little gimmick. It's a really credible way with lots of theory that we haven't really talked about that backs up everything that we're doing.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I have no doubt we'll be sharing some of your stuff and come back with some positive stories. So look, all the best to you and to Dan, and thanks for your time. And I hope the rest of your day goes superbly.
Thank you. And you, Trevor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
It was a real pleasure listening to Rachel there discussing all of the things she's found with Danny Drake and the 15S 30M. Very, very grateful for her time. She came in on her way to give a talk in central London and being a guest on Atrainability Radio. I hope that conversation gives you plenty to think about. And if you do come up with any improvements that you've made yourself, please do let us know, or indeed let them know at their website, which is 15s30m.co.uk. And let's spread the word about all the changes we can make out there. So you can find the show notes for this episode at atrainability.co.uk and search for episode 5 with Rachel Pilling. Within the show notes, you can find links and I hope some useful resources for you. Please do help spread the word about Atrainability Radio. Tell a friend. If you've not already done so, you can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. So until next time, I've been and I remain Trevor Dale, and this has been Atrainability Radio. Thank you very much for listening.